Right then, good morning everybody, good morning, good evening, good afternoon, whatever it is, wherever you happen to be. My name is Paul, I'm also called Knickknack. I'm the brains behind Knickknack's Daily Teaser, which is a hopefully fun, enjoyable set of brain teaser quizzes. You'll see those on my YouTube channel, Mr. Cuddy2977. Please feel free to subscribe and hit the notification bell to get alerted whenever I post something. You will also see them go past on Knickknack's Old Peculiar, my blog, which has a lot of quiz questions on it. If you're looking for a source of free quiz questions, by the way, please feel free to rate them, so long as you give me a credit, and think about putting some money in the tip jar that'll be up there. I also talk about movies I've seen, and I really should watch something at some point. I'm also someone who talks about TV shows I watch. I caught the full series of For All Mankind recently, and again, I'll try and put this in the corner here, but you're welcome to have a look at that and see if you agree with me if you saw it. But I also meant to talk to you tonight, as it's Monday the 5th of February, and just because I've got the evening spare, I meant to tell you that I saw episode 1 of the reanimated classic Doctor Who series, The Honourable Menace, last night, starring Patrick Troughton, Fraser Hines, Annika Wilkes and Michael Craze, along with quite a few other people, and I wanted to tell you what I thought of the story. The Underwater Menace, Episode 1. Following on from the last episode of The Highlanders, Episode 1 of The Underwater Menace opens with the Doctor, Patrick Troughton, guiding the TARDIS to its next landing point, whilst he, Ben and Polly, Michael Craze and Annika Wells, explain the TARDIS to their new companion, Jamie, Fraser Hines. It's only after the Doctor mentions Robert Burns that he realises two things. One, Jamie hasn't heard of Scotland's national poet. Jamie started travelling in the TARDIS moments before in what, for him, is 1746, some 13 years before Burns was born. Secondly, the place the team has landed really isn't Cornwall as Polly believes. No, from what the team learns, they're west of Gibraltar, they're south of the Azores, and quite firmly on the Atlantic Ridge, in what they're told is the very, very fabled
Atlantis.
Right, now, what did I think of this first episode? Why did I start watching it? What did I make of it? And am I relieved that this animated version of the story exists? Let's do that last question first, shall we? Yes, I am extremely pleased to be watching this animated version, especially as, at one point, the last animated Doctor Who story I saw, The Abominable Snowmen, was expected to be the last of the stories, or the animated stories, to be made. BBC America pulled their funding from the whole kit and caboodle. Quite who's funded this animated version and the upcoming animated version of The Celestial Toymaker, I don't know, but I'm grateful they did. If you know who, please feel free to leave me a comment. Like I say, I'm grateful they did it. Why did I start watching The Underwater Menace? I have to admit, I started watching as I had some free time. But on top of that, I had played the DVD version many years ago. A DVD version that consisted of the two surviving live-action episodes, episodes 2 and 3, alongside telesnap versions of episodes 1 and 4. The telesnap versions, in case you didn't know, are reconstructed episodes of a Doctor Who story, with missing episodes recreated from a mix of publicity photos and off-air fan-made audio recordings. People at home didn't have video back in the 60s, so they'd record it to audio tape. Now, I watched or played that DVD version quite some time ago. At least had it on in the background while I was job hunting, quiz writing and working on my computer. So I didn't, at the time, pay much attention to the story. I felt, given an excuse, I should have another look at the story, pay more attention to it, and then tell you what I thought about it at a later date. That later date was sort of previewed last year when the animated version was released in the UK on Blu-ray, I should add, in both black and white and colour formats. That colour format is now something that I've decided to watch. I wanted to watch it, I wanted to see it. I felt I could do it a bit more justice by paying attention and then telling you about it. What did I make of this first episode? First things first, I prefer it in colour, so that's what I'm watching. The actual animation is, as they always are, extremely well done. Granted, some of the designs differ between the telesnap and animated versions. The temple guards have spears with prawn-shaped blades, believe it or not, rather than the tridents in the live-action broadcast. Many of the priests have conch shell headdresses rather than the spiny tentacled ones in the same live-action broadcast. The various temple singers also have different masks. That's relatively minor stuff. The colour depth, as ever, is pretty damn good, as is the detailing and the backgrounds. The animations themselves are as smooth as ever they were and are. The story, this first episode, is thoroughly engrossing. About my only complaint is that some of the audio seems very muffled, especially early on in the episode. I'm going to assume, I could be wrong, but this is my assumption, that those problems were problems with the source audio recordings rather than Mark Ayres, the guy that does the restoration of sound for these animated stories. He does well enough and always has done with these reconstructions, so I don't think any muffled dialogue is his fault. He's doing the best he can with the material given. As this episode stands overall, though, as things stand, this episode is both watchable, it's entertaining, and it's marred only by some very minor muffled dialogue. It hasn't spoiled my enjoyment of the episode, merely made part of it hard to hear. Right, as a minor footnote here, there's various versions of the Underwater Menace doing the rounds. On Amazon, the animated version that I'm watching is available both as a DVD and as a Blu-ray. The original DVD version that I half-heartedly watched a little while back is still available, and it's a quite reasonable seeming $7.99 at the time of this video was recorded. That price may drop later, it might not. One seemingly odd thing here is that, at least on the streaming front, I've got an Apple TV 4K. It's sitting right by my television as we speak, and it's an older model that still comes complete with the BBC iPlayer. And from the little I've seen over the past few months, bar an unearthly child, most of the classic Doctor Who stories were available on the Apple TV version of the iPlayer, including this telesnapped version of the Underwater Menace that I've mentioned that I originally saw as a DVD, the one that's available on Amazon for $7.99. I'm assuming the animated version I am watching isn't available on iPlayer to stream. Some of the Dalek stories are, some aren't, but the Underwater Menace, the animated version, isn't on the iPlayer. However, for some reason, I cannot find that DVD version, that original DVD telesnaps cut of the Underwater Menace on my Apple TV's version of iPlayer. As far as I can see, the Apple TV version of iPlayer only goes back to episode 4 of Full Circle. That's as far back as it goes. I can find it on my computer in a web browser on a Mac, so I'm assuming it's also available on a Chromebook and Windows PC. I can also find it on my Android phone's version of the iPlayer app. I cannot find it on the Apple TV equivalent. Why? I don't know, but if you have an idea or an opinion, I'd like to hear it. As a related point of order related to streaming and whatnot, as you may or may not realise, I've owned various episodes of Doctor Who on various physical media over the past God knows how long. I've made a point, where possible, of making digital copies of those discs' contents every time I've bought one. I don't know the legality of this, but I see it as making backup copies of my property. I've got it on disc. I want to have it on a digital media as well, so that way I'm safe. If I lose the digital copy, I've still got the goods, so to speak. But I am also aware that if something goes wrong with the streamed episodes of a show that I'm following, like apparently the streamed versions of The Underwater Menace on the Apple TV version of iPlayer, I can still stream my physical or digital copies locally, or play the physical copies I have on Blu-ray on a Blu-ray player. Quite what's happening with the Apple TV version of iPlayer, I don't know, but I have the animated and telesnaps versions of The Underwater Menace to watch, and can stream the iPlayer version from my computer or my phone to my Apple TV. That is something I find, let's call it, reassuring. Right, with all that lot said, done, dusted and brushed under the carpet, what did I make of episode 1 of The Underwater Menace? I will be honest, I had a thoroughly enjoyable time of it, and I'm going to be watching episode 2 next week. That episode will get watched on, let me check my diary here, on Sunday the 11th of February 2024. I will have my written and video reviews up on Monday the 12th of February. I will hopefully see you then, and until then I will leave you with the wise words of the late Patrick McGowan. Be seeing you.